And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Wednesday, February 21st. We have a lot to talk about on the show today, but before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link, that is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So with that being said, let's get into what we are going to talk about for today. So we're going to start off the show. We're going to talk about Dak Prescott and the possibility of him resetting the quarterback market. There's rumors out there that he could command for a $60 million contract. So we'll see if that happens, but we're going to talk about that in a second. Then in the second part of the show, we'll talk about the Falcons quarterback situation, how they're going to address the quarterback position this offseason because, they have a good roster, but that's one of the missing pieces for them is at quarterback. So we'll get into that. We'll talk about Saquon Barkley and the Giants. It seems like they're likely not going to use the franchise tag on him as that the franchise tag period has now opened. So we'll talk about that, and then we'll get into players that could possibly be salary cap casualties and end up getting cut because of their cap numbers. So that's the rundown for the show today. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about Dak Prescott and his contract situation. So, yeah, there's rumors out there that he could command a $60 million extension, which would reset the market completely. It's, the Cowboys are in a tough spot right now. If they end up not, meeting his demands, he can end up becoming a free agent. But, this is something that's kind of been a back and forth for a while is, should the Cowboys pay Dak? Should they not? And it just, listen, Dak Prescott, I've said, I think is a solid quarterback. He's coming off of a solid season. At one point he was, in the lead for MVP. But, I mean, listen, I don't think anybody is worth that kind of money. But, I mean, obviously that's kind of an old take. But, yeah, I mean, $60 million. And again, he's not the best quarterback in his sport. But, yeah, I mean, coming off of a season where he had 4,500 yards passing, 36 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 105.9 passer rating, definitely much improved from 2022. Did miss some time with injury, but last year in 2022 had 2,800 yards passing, 23 touchdowns with 15 interceptions, and then the year before that in 2021 he had 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. So yeah, I mean, comparing his stats from 2022 to 2023, definitely improved. And at one point, again, was, an MVP candidate. But, yeah, I just, it's, again, the Cowboys, it's something that they've gone back and forth with for a long time. And, you look on the other side, though, it's like, what is the alternative if you move off of Dak Prescott? Because, again, I don't think Dak Prescott is a quarterback that's going to elevate your team. But I think he could definitely, I mean, if he ended up leaving the Cowboys and going somewhere else, I think, if he ends up in the right situation, he's going to be good for you. I mean, he may win you a playoff game, but that's really it. I don't really see Super Bowl, in him. But, listen, the Cowboys have a lot of talent, and it's just year after year, they just, they can't really seem to take that next step. Now, again, I think he's become a better quarterback, since, it's kind of become his team. Because you go back, I mean, I have his stats right here. I mean, 2016, 23 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, 3,600 yards passing. Then 3,300 yards passing, 22 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. 2018, 22 touchdowns to 8 picks. 2019, almost 5,000 yards passing, 30 touchdowns to 11 picks. 2020, obviously, he got hurt, only had 9 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. But yeah, 37 touchdowns to 10 picks in 2021, and then 23 to 15, 36 to 9. So once this team, they kind of went away from the run and made it more of this is Dak's team, because that's really what it was the first couple of years. It was Ezekiel Elliott. He was the engine of the team. And then they kind of went away from that, and it was more of Dak's team. And Dak's putting up better numbers. But, again, still hasn't really amounted to anything. I mean, Dak's rookie season, the Cowboys were the number 1 seed, and they lost to the Packers. They were the 2 seed this year, lost to the Packers. And they can't get past the divisional round, losing to the Rams, losing to the 49ers. It's just, they can't take that next step. And I feel like, listen, you pay Dak Prescott, you have your quarterback, but you're not gonna go that far in the playoffs. And again, I also mentioned the fact that, head coaching wise, they need to upgrade there because, Jason Garrett was there for a while with Dak, and again, didn't really go anywhere. And it's the same thing with Mike McCarthy. That's something that they need to fix, and try to bring somebody in that's a better candidate. But again, you also have to look at Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones wants his guy. And, sometimes, he goes with his heart rather than with his head. And that's what happened with Jason Garrett. Seems like that's happening with Mike McCarthy. But, and that's something Cowboys fans have been saying. You could even look on social media. If Jerry Jones takes a back seat and lets somebody else make the decisions, it'll be better for the Cowboys. But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So, I just think it would be, it would definitely be interesting if Dak Prescott ends up being, the highest paid quarterback. Because, again, he doesn't deserve it. Because, again, a solid quarterback, he is not the best QB in his sport. He's not, and sometimes you don't have to be. Sometimes if you're the best QB, you're not going to be the highest paid. I mean, look at Tom Brady, and the pay cuts that he took, so they could the Patriots could keep a lot of their guys. You see Mahomes looking to restructure his contract, but sometimes you have to overpay to keep your guys. I mean, you see that everywhere. But I mean, $60 million. It's he's not really worth that kind of money. But they're going to end up giving it to him. And again, I mean, the Cowboys, look, next year, I still think they're going to be a good team, but I don't really see them as a team that's going to, really for me, it's going to be, you're going to have to show me that you could take that next step. Because I gave them the benefit of, hey, you're in a weak conference, you should get to the NFC Championship game. Couldn't even get out of the first round. And again, some of that falls on the quarterback. Now, again, the defense was not good. But, again, 2 interceptions. One of them was a pick six. Got to show up for the postseason. Again, we're seeing it's very, very similar career to what Tony Romo was doing. You get to the playoffs and then they don't do anything. So, I mean, I don't think he deserves this kind of money if he ends up getting a $60 million extension from the Cowboys or whoever. But again, what's the alternative? Because you have a roster in place that is a playoff team. And you got stars on both sides of the ball. But, it's, they can't, like I keep saying, they can't take that next step. So, I mean, we'll see what ends up happening. Again, something else to keep an eye on in the offseason. If the Cowboys do indeed open their wallets and they pay him. Again, coming off of a good year. But, they came up small in the playoffs again. And that's something that you are evaluated by and you're put under a microscope for is your success in the playoffs. And he's not very good in the playoffs. He's only got 2 playoff wins. I mean, it's crazy how he's going to be going into what next year's going to be his 10th season, right? I think so, right? 16, 17, 18, 19. No, it's not. Well, ninth season. Ninth season. Yeah, I mean, it's wild. It's crazy how he's been in the league that long. But again, that just shows you how fast time goes. Um, but yeah, I mean, he doesn't really have a lot to show for it when he doesn't perform in the playoffs. And again, I think he's gotten better, but I mean, listen, and he did say he wasn't going to throw double-digit interceptions this season. Well, in the regular season, he didn't, but if you count that with the postseason, he did. So, and listen, the talent is there, but I mean, listen, how do they stack up against the 49ers? Like that's the team that's standing in your way. Well, again, you lost to the Packers. The conference is going to be better, but that's the team that every other team, it's up in the air on. I mean, because listen, they won the close game against the Lions. They could have won both games against the Eagles. I think they're better than every team in the NFC South. I know they did lose to the Packers. But I guess it's just, yeah, maybe it's just the Packers and the 49ers. You just can't beat them in the playoffs. So it's really those two teams, and then it's everybody else. But I would have liked to have seen the Cowboys and the Lions. I would have liked to have seen a rematch of that in the playoffs to see how that would have went. But yeah, we didn't get that. But listen, it's fine. Well, I mean, we'll at least see it next year when they both play each other in the regular season. So, but yeah, it's just again, the conference is going to be better next year. Again, it's still not loaded like it has been in years past. But again, I mean, when you're the Cowboys and you come up small in the playoffs, it really doesn't matter. So we'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, again, this is something to keep an eye on. $60 million contract per year. I mean, it's a lot of money. And, again, he's coming off of a good season. So, yeah, you deserve to get paid. But, again, when you talk about it from like a fan perspective, there's fans that are going to say, well, again, the Cowboys come up small in the playoffs. And he didn't play well. And that was, at that point, that was the biggest game of the year. And, again, they came up small. But, again, we'll see what happens. And because this is something that's been a back and forth thing for a long time on, if they should pay Dak or not. And now it's time. So, well, the extension at least. So we'll see, if they end up really opening up their wallet for it. Yeah, so he's in the okay, yeah, so he's in the final year of his 4-year, $160 million deal signed after the 2020 season that included $126 million guaranteed. So yeah, this contract extension is going to be, even higher. But yeah, and we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. But like I said, it's just crazy how long he's been in the league for. Again, I felt like it was yesterday when I was watching his debut against the Giants, and the Giants actually won that game. See, the Cowboys were the 1 seed that year, and the Giants somehow beat them twice. The Giants made the playoffs, but I don't know how the Giants did it. First game of the year, they won 20-19, and then the game late in the season when Cowboys were one of the best offenses in the league. The Giants held them to 7 points, and they won 10-7. But yeah, but I mean, yeah, they it was something that they were debating for a while to pay him, but they did that with his first contract, and now contract extension. What is it going to be? So, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think about this. I mean, I think a lot of people will agree Dak Prescott is not worth $60 million, but should the Cowboys pay Dak, or should they let him go and try to find another option? Because again, you could look at both options and say, well, he's not worth the money, but at the same time, you get rid of him, and who are you bringing in to replace him? Cooper Rush? Well, you also have Trey Lance. That's another thing too. You have Trey Lance. Maybe you give Trey Lance a shot. I don't know. Actually, is Trey Lance a free agent? I'm not sure. Wait, let's. I I don't know off the top of my head. But yeah, I forgot that they still have him too. And listen, Cooper Rush did win them a couple of games. All right, so after 2024, Lance becomes a free agent unless the Cowboys decide to exercise. Okay, his fifth-year option. Okay, all right. So that's what the Trey Lance stuff. Um, but yeah, we'll see. If they give Dak Prescott that contract extension. But yeah, so when we come back from our first break of the show, we'll talk about how the Falcons will address their quarterback situation, their quarterback position. Um, and yeah, so that is what we'll do when we come back from our first break of the show. So, that being said, stick around and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.